Hello and welcome to the Paddock Podcast with Adam McCauley, Stephen Howson, Jay Motti and me, Joe Smith. We are live with the Paddock Podcast every single Monday at 4 p.m. on YouTube. The Paddock Podcast title sponsor is Manscaped, the global leaders in men's below-the-waist grooming. Enjoy this week's show.
JF Stretford Paddock, this is the Paddock Podcast. That's Joe Smith.
Hello.
And this is Brian McClair. How are we doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much, sir.
It's good to finally have you on this podcast. I've been marrying you, haven't I, for about 2.5 years. Come on now.
I was on something with you before. Was it on this one?
No.
Oh,
you did.
right.
You did.
Feels the same.
Yeah. I don't feel like that was a necessary. The proper introduction. It's great to have you on.
Yeah.
A United legend. I know you don't like me saying these things, but I'm going to say it
I
anyway.
don't like it, no.
Loads of Premier League winning medals, loads of goals for Manchester United. The first player since George Best to score 30 goals in a season. So Alex Ferguson's second signing. Am I right in thinking? Behind Viv Anderson?
Yeah, alphabetically.
What was that, right, with Viv Anderson? Because
No,
I've had this argument on Twitter, because I like to argue with people on Twitter now and again.
Well, that's what everybody does on Twitter.
It's
doesn't
like
it?
a
what it's
pastime of
for.
mine. And someone said Chucky was the first signing for
Well,
and I was like, he wasn't.
I think it was the Alex Ferguson, amongst several wise decisions he made while he was a manager across different clubs, I think he was taking the kind of sort of spotlight off on that particular day. So Viv had agreed to come from Arsenal and I'd agreed to come from Glasgow Celtic. We arrived on the same day and we signed on the same day, and I think that the Viv was presented as the first signing because I think Alex Ferguson wanted to because he was a senior player, to put him there as saying, well, this is my first signing rather than an unknown-ish player from Scotland. And I think that was probably a wise pavement psychological decision that he was brilliant at.
Just so, does that not to put as much pressure on you, do you feel like?
I think publicly, I mean,
and,
privately there was plenty of expectation, but not just publicly, you know. So I think that looking back on that in the dim and distant past, yes, I can see why he would. His thoughts were round about that.
Do you get involved in the comments and the chat? Give us all your questions for Chucky. And I've got any questions for me and Joe. Anything you want to ask him.
I'm not answering any questions.
You're not answering any questions. Right. Well, this is going to be a short podcast because you can tell you what, ask me and Joe questions about our Manchester United career. It won't last very long.
We can pretend we've won a few Premier League winners' medals. We should do that. Well, who would you have been if you hadn't played for Man United, Jay? What sort of player would you have been?
I'd have been probably the 10th best player in the five-a-side game that I played on a Tuesday night.
I've been to that five-a-side game before. You're better than that.
How can you be the 10th best player
on the five-a-side game? Because there's five-a-side games.
No, I'd have said you were the 11th best player on the five-a-side.
Pretty accurate. I'm like, right, yeah.
You're the guy that turns up just in case.
I would linger around with.
If anyone gets injured, I'll just jump on.
I just run on. If someone goes down, I run on. I'll play. He's all right. He's up. No, it's all right. You got to have a sit down. I just want to ask you. We'll get to a little bit about the first team. I know it's not exactly a happy topic, but not just the player. Obviously, you coach some of the players that are currently playing for Manchester United. So we'll get your take on a little bit about that. I wanted to ask you something about sort of what's going on at United in a minute, but we're tying it in with your time at United. We keep hearing this thing about leadership and leaders, and that's and it's a word that just keeps springing up time and time again. Is that something that you think, when you look at United, do you think that's what's lacking?
Well, I mean, it's the thing for me, and I heard someone on Sky early on, a wiser person than I was, talking about structure and how a club should be run.
Whoever was that sounds very wise.
But whatever, in anything you want to do, whether you're involved in anything worldwide, any business, any industry, the most important thing is about recruitment. Now you have owners of an organisation; they decide who they want to run their organisation, and clearly the recruitment, right from underneath the owners, who are there for their own reasons, but they've allowed other people to run their business of Manchester United, hasn't been good enough. So if you've got people that are at the top deciding to make the decisions, to decide, then you can recruit a manager or a coach, whatever they want to call them now, but certainly below that, then you look at the recruitment person, who's the one who's responsible, or the team of people who are responsible for bringing in the most critical part of the football club, which are the players. And that recruitment part of it, the process, first of all, has not been good enough because it's far too slow. The idea of what they've got seems to be the wrong idea. That for some reason they want to know about every single player in every single team, and that's how you can trawl through that, looking for your individual targets depending on what you think is the player or the position you need to improve your team or your squad has been lacking. And now you find yourself in a situation now where, in comparison to other top teams in the English Premier League and quite clearly in European football, the squad of players that are there at the moment are not capable of competing any better than they have at this season, which leaves us in a situation where at the moment we're seventh. And if it wasn't for David Gea coming into, or being back in the form that he was 2 or 3 years ago, I can't imagine where we might be with regards to a position in the league, because he's been, again, outstanding in a number of the games that we've drawn or maybe squeaked a win. He's probably been the one that's made that difference, or maybe stopped us maybe getting a hiding in other games as well. So.
Are you slightly surprised after last season? Because it seemed as though things were moving slightly in the right direction under Ole, didn't it? Like third finish and then second, and then it looked like, we get Ronaldo, who knows what might happen this season. And all of a sudden it's worse than it's been in a decade. Did that drop-off surprise you? It
did. Of course it surprises you, because you're thinking along the same lines, that things are going well. You finish in that particular position. I've never been one who's... Well, I don't understand really the wisdom of signing Cristiano. Cristiano, a great player, one of the greatest players ever to play football, and a wonderful record in football in various different countries. The thing that I find, and I still find astonishing, is if you're going to bring someone in like Cristiano at his age, you want to play him, and you think he's going to make a difference. Both under Ole Gunnar and under Ralph, they don't seem to have played to his strengths. The people look at Ronaldo and think about what kind of Ronaldo kind of player he is. For me, it comes down to kind of basic thing. Cristiano Ronaldo is very powerful in the air, very good in the air. He's got some tremendous movement in the box. We never cross the ball. Well, we never cross the ball. So, you look at Liverpool, who have got players who are not as adept in the air, and they get the ball out the box very, very quickly. And as I say, it kind of bemuses me why we're not using Cristiano's strengths. So I can understand, and it's not just the game on Saturday where he's frustrated. I go back weeks and weeks ago when he's walked off the pitch in games because he feels that he hasn't been able to do what he can do because they hasn't had the service, and that's not down to the players. The players are playing to the rhythm and the plan of the coach, and both of them, from what I can see, have failed in trying to get some of the best out of Cristiano Ronaldo. It's
almost like they thought, we'll stop him going to Man City and then we'll work it out afterwards. Because, like you said, we don't play in a style that really suits his best. We bring Ralf Rangnick in as this pressing coach, and Ronaldo doesn't really press like a younger striker or maybe like whoever. And like you said, Liverpool have got people like Diogo Jota scoring goals, headers left, right, and centre, and he's 5'8" and not particularly good in the air. But because of their system, they get the best out of that style.
Yeah, but and if you look at that, they've got 6 players who can play forward positions now. 6 players who score goals in various different ways, in various different styles, in various different fashions. And that's what I'm saying. If you like you said, what's the long-term plan? Was the plan always to if because you should be looking at like what's the best thing to be doing, right? So from the highest level, you should be saying, right, well, if we're not comfortable or whatever the role is, the person at the top, whatever the role, whatever Ed Woodward's job title was, to saying, right, well, what happens if he decides he's going to go to another industry? Who have we got to come in there? Is it Richard Arnold? Then finally is he in the position where he can bring him in? If you're saying, well, that Solskjaer's not the person, who is it you're going to bring in? If it's not Ralph who's going to come in, who is it you're going to come in? And I don't see clearly that is the case. I mean, even up to now, have they decided who they want to bring as a coach, and have they really sorted that situation out? So then that spreads down to the next bit: who's recruiting the players, and who's deciding on the style of play and how to get the best out of the players with regard to what you're doing. As soon as you've got the idea that even though it's a short period of time, maybe the Cristiano Ronaldo thing came up over it again. Like, all of a sudden he's leaving Juventus and Manchester City are supposed to be interested. Manchester United should be trying to get him. Okay, but you should be playing ideas and little games of all the way through. What if we could get him? What if we could get him? How do we do this? How do we do that? And really, the Ronaldo thing for me isn't that difficult. He's clever in the box. He's physical. He's still, at his age, got a prestigious leap. He's a great header of the ball. Get the ball in the box. There you go.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Get involved in the chat. Give us a like as well. I just wanted to ask you about a couple of players that you know from your time coaching at United. Looks like Paul Pogba's gonna leave in the summer. We've spoken. Me and you've spoken about Paul Pogba in the past. I think last time when he was on there when we were full-time Devils, we talk about Paul Pogba all the time. Do you think the club should be trying to keep him? Do you think they should be going all out? Or do you think it's time to just admit that he's going to go and just leave him to it?
Well, maybe you can look back to say, well, again, part of the plan was there a great plan with regards to bringing Paul Pogba back to the club? Paul left Manchester United as an 18-year-old, and we had high hopes for him playing in a particular way, in a particular position. He goes to Juventus, has great success in playing as a wide left forward in a very successful and very strong Juventus team. At that particular time, the Italian league wasn't the strongest. Paul had then moved back into more of a creative position because Pirlo had retired or had moved to America, and he'd one season of success at that, playing as a playmaker. Is that what they brought him in? Is that what the recruitment people or whoever it was bring him in to play? And very rarely has he been playing in that position. Now, I would still say that because of performances at international level, Paul Pogba is the one world-class player that Manchester United have. But he's never performed. Or he has an occasion, but on the occasion he has performed, he might have a 10, which is world-class performance, but you can't go from a 10 down to a 1 or 2, which he has quite often, and then being 2 and then going back up to 7 or 10. You need to be like the best players will play, even when they're bad, maybe a 7 out of 10. So you have to question what the reasons are for that is. And maybe it's too much for him to come back at that kind of price tag, £89 million, euros, whatever it was, to come back to Manchester United. And then maybe the expectation was too good, so too great, and too much for him. And again, it just seems a mismatch of a plan, or not so much of a plan. And with the thing, all that period of time, there's far too much chat about what Paul Pogba's not doing rather than about what's the best thing for Manchester United. If Paul Pogba wanted to stay at Manchester United, he'd have signed a contract by now. But
we've said that, haven't we?
Yeah.
So
and there's never been any statement to say, well, actually, so for productivity versus cost, then it doesn't make sense from the figures that have been mentioned in the media.
The amount of money they're talking about. When you're on about a plan and stuff, and obviously over the last sort of 7 or 8 years, we've seen a lack of a plan. Do you have more confidence in the newer structure that, you know, it seemed to be Woodward doing all of these jobs, and now at least there's a bit more of, you've got Rangnick going into that consultation role, there's Darren Fletcher, there's John Murtough, there's Richard Arnold, there's more people doing it. Is that better, or is it just a bad job being done by 5 people instead of a bad job being done by 1 people? Do you have a bit more optimism going forward?
I think that the problem there, Joe, is that all these people are involved in new roles. So what do they actually know about what they're doing?
They're all just,
I'm not taking the piss here.
No, it's a lot of their first jobs, isn't
I'm
it?
saying, you know, if somebody turned around and said to me that I was going to be, even now, all the different things that I've done, if somebody said to me, I'm going to appoint you as the technical director of Manchester United, I'd be going, well, what's the job description, and what is it that I've got that fulfills this criteria? When you go in to do anything, that you play football, become very good at football, play internationally, play for Manchester United. When you change roles, and I can use for me, I mean, I got a job as the reserve team coach at Manchester United, and I had Sir Alex Ferguson, Jim Ryan, Mick Phelan, David Williams, Neil Bailey, who'd always coached a lot longer than I had. And I quickly realised that I actually didn't know very much about coaching. I'd passed my coaching badges, but actually doing the day-to-day and how to train the players, how to get them into, how to coach them, how to identify different players' strengths and weaknesses, how to pick a team, how to change when things were happening in the game. As I say, I realised I actually didn't know anything about it, but I had great people round about me that I could watch and listen to and ask questions to. A lot of these new roles or these roles, we don't have examples or history of it. So who you learning from? Unless everybody's spending a couple of hours a day with Alex Ferguson, who did all those things.
Yeah.
Then I don't see how we can. As you travel through, you'll learn on the hoof, but you need to be able to watch, read, listen, and maybe be tutored by people who've already done these roles. And I don't see any evidence of that so far. I don't see. I don't know what the criteria of Darren's job. Is it what's he director of?
He's technical director.
Technical director.
Yeah, I think it's John Murtough's director of football.
Right. Well,
Darren
technical
Fletcher.
director. Darren's an intelligent lad, really good football, good guy. But I don't see how him sitting on the bench is reflected in what he's supposed to be doing. If he's supposed to be influential in choosing a new coach, he can't be sitting next to sitting next to the coach who's already there, and also getting emotionally involved, which you do. And I remember myself when I first started, you get really emotionally involved in how the game is, because and it's more frustrating because you can't do anything about it because you're on the sidelines, but you can't really be getting booked, because you're getting emotionally involved, and then you can't be arguing with some knobhead who's breached the kind of zone of red zone or whatever else it is. And you should, these are things that you shouldn't be. So that wouldn't have happened if you'd been sitting in the director's box, which you probably should be. You don't get booked, and you don't be remonstrating with some person who's managed to get into an area he shouldn't be just because he wants to shout and scream, which is entitled to do. She, everybody's entitled to do the football, because but how do you prepare for that? You prepare by, it's the same as anything else. If you turned around and said, well, would you expect this person to be teaching your children? And they turn around and go, well, what qualifications have you got? I'm not sure you would let them loose in your kids' class.
And especially if the teacher, it's their first job, and it's the deputy head's first job, and it's the head teacher's first job. There isn't anyone there who can say, here's how we do it, because I've done it before.
Well, what kind of school would you send your kids to? Would you send your kids to a school like that?
Exactly. That's the worry, isn't it? That none of them seem to have much history of success doing the jobs they're doing now. It's all like, let's make some new roles, fill them up quickly, and hope that it works out. Slightly concerning, isn't it?
It's a little bit concerning. We've got a load of comments that we'll get to in a minute. First of all, though, we've got a message from our sponsors at Manscaped.
We will have in a second anyway. As soon as we're ready. Today's podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in all-male grooming.
Is it just the global leader then?
What does that mean?
I think it's bigger than just global.
All right, then.
You've got to think bigger.
Leader.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, the universal
As far as we've
leader.
detected, there is no one in the universe that is more of a leader in male grooming than Manscaped. And
Factual.
there's 4 million men just on Earth, let alone all the other planets.
We've not even counted them.
We haven't even counted them that trust Manscaped, and you can help Manscaped, and Manscaped can help you using the code DEVILS20 at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. Can't ask for more than that.
You
Joe.
can't. Listen, Manscaped, this is a true story, right? Changed my life.
Go on.
Because I couldn't find anyone to share my life with me. I was single.
Sorry, did you say you changed my life or shaved my wife?
Both. Well, not actually. Didn't shave my wife because A, I haven't got a wife, and B, it's Manscaped.
Oh yeah, sorry.
What it did, it changed my life because I was kicking around, single, miserable, on my own, wanted a family, wanted a missus, having none of it, and then I discovered the weed whacker from Manscaped, and I realised it was my nasal hair and my ear hair.
Your ears and nose look very smooth
Thank
today,
you.
Jay.
I'm glad you've noticed. Once I used that, boom. Misses, kids, house, the lot.
Yeah, and you don't have to have all of those things.
No.
But if you want them, this is going to help.
Yeah, of course
and
it
the
is.
weed whacker is great for the ears and the nose, but then it's the lawnmower 4.0.
Well, that's what I did, the ears and the nose, and then I had a reason
to work down south.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's just say, happy customer.
It's got a light on it.
Yep.
It's got a lock on it.
Yep.
It's got so many RPMs, you won't know what to do with
4,000,
yourself. I think it's got 7,000.
7,000, that's insane.
Yeah, make sure you check out the Perfect Package 4.0 as well, which has the lawnmower, it has the weed whacker, it's got the boxers, it's got the formulas for your testicles.
The crop preserver.
The crop preserver as well, the crop reviver. You put moisturiser on your face,
preserve
you put Vaseline
and
on
revive.
your knuckles. You need to do the same for your bollocks. It's simple as that, guys. And Manscaped has partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to bring awareness to testicular cancer, men's health, and early cancer detection. Very important.
It is. It's Testicular Cancer Awareness Month in April, and it is something we should be talking about. We should be discussing it, and Manscaped are helping to do that. So an important message, as well as doing all the things we've mentioned, it's spreading an important message.
So smell fresh, be fresh, get shaved, and help out men's cancer awareness as well. Using the code DEVILS20 at manscaped.com. Link in the description. You get 20% off and free shipping. Your balls.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Big thanks to Manscaped there. Me and you need to get new outfits.
It looked like you kissed me on that.
Hey, we're wearing the same clothes in all these videos. What's going on? Hey, we need to sort our lives out. Loads of people have been involved in the chat and the comments. Hit that like button as well. Over 1,200 people watching and 192 likes, which is completely disgraceful considering you've got Joe Smith on this podcast.
I know.
Paul Brinlund in the super chat says 10 wins in 10 games for Ten Hag. Sweet next season. So he's already, that's it. We're going to win the first 10 games under Ten Hag. You've heard it here first from Paul.
Not only have we signed him as the manager, he's also predicted what the results are going to be, and they're great.
10 in 10. Don't worry about that.
Sorted.
iTrek Badge Pie, forgive me if I butchered that one, says, brilliant to see Chucky on here. Feels surreal. Also, who do you think is the most reliable player in the squad right now? Who should be kept? And any thoughts on Bruno captaincy? There's several questions there, if you can unpick that. Who's the most reliable player in the squad right now, do you feel?
Well, the most reliable player is the goalkeeper.
He said the goalkeeper there,
so, I mean, he's performed heroically.
Heroically?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So he's again, I mean, it's another kind of thing. You go back to the indictment of Manchester United over the last 8 years that when you have, and it's almost a shame to even have a Player of the Year, but we have a Player of the Year, don't they? Player of the Year awards at Manchester United, and David De Gea's won more Player of the Year awards.
We need another.
Than anyone, out of the list, and it's so easy. That tells you really what kind of situation you find yourself in.
Was it Jose who decided?
Jose decided that he made up his own.
Yeah, quick, just go get a vase from
get those daffodils out of that
shop. Yeah.
Give it to Scott McTominay.
Yeah, that's what it was. The manager's Player of the Year. Yeah.
And just made up.
Make up his own.
Yeah,
well,
because
anyway.
So, in terms of the captaincy, Chucky, because this is a question that keeps coming up on any podcast we do. People in the comments, you got the ground people saying Maguire's not a captain, or is Bruno a captain, or should it be De Gea, or should it be Ronaldo? I mean, do you have a thought on that? Any thoughts on it? Do you think you think you'd prefer to say as a captain, or do you think it's been over?
I think that a lot of that kind of thing is diverting what's important about it, and that all in a way should be captains. They should all the players should be able to be captains and be able to inspire in certain situations, irrespective of what position it is. You'd always look for players who have been through similar situations before. There isn't. Forget about Manchester United. There isn't really many captains that you would say were like captains in the 70s or 80s or 90s. I don't see that in football anyway.
Not like the Brian Robson types of proper leading.
And the other problem with this team is you could put, one of United's great. You could put Roy Keane into this team, and I don't think he would single-handedly make us win the league because all the rest of the pieces aren't there. Like, he would improve United, obviously, but I don't think we're just a great captain away from winning, loads of trophies.
I think he's an influence, though. But
of course,
that's what I'm saying, but I don't think there's that type of, at the moment. I don't see that character, that type of drive, and so the debate about the captain for me is trivial compared to the problems that are within the group of players. So just to think that if somebody's said to me, if I was interviewed for the job and I was asked what my aspirations were for next year, I would be telling the people who were interviewing me, whose club it was, that I think I can keep you in the Premier League. I think that's what they've got. And I'm not joking about that. I think that's where we potentially could be. I think if you should be forgetting all about saying, well, you must get into the Champions League, you must get to the quarterfinals of this, or you must get to the semi-finals of that. I think you should be sticking with, if it's a rebuilding process and you're allowing someone to or the whole group are together in this idea of where are you now? Not great. How do you rebuild? It'll have to be a mixture of players that are there now, players that are young players that should be bringing in, and hopefully they will develop into the good players that has happened historically at Manchester United. And can you buy one or two players who want to come to Manchester United for the right reasons and be part of a rebuilding process? That rebuilding process could take, well, I think Liverpool are a perfect example of how long it can take. But there wasn't that long ago that Klopp was on a, to use Scottish parlance, that his jacket was on a shugly nail, Like, there was a game that when Man United went to Anfield, that Mourinho was in charge. If United had won that game, Klopp could have been out.
People forget that because I think he'd had 1 win in 9 going into that game.
Yeah,
and the pressure was on.
And he'd won enough at Dortmund to get a bit of sympathy in a bit of time, but he hadn't, he didn't have the greatest CV of all time. He'd won a couple of.
But there's not many though, because all the ones that have got great CVs are in jobs.
Yeah.
But is that the right person you're looking for?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like I just without knowing a huge amount of all the ins and outs and the details of them, I would favour Pochettino only because he's coached in the Premier League, he's coached in various other places, and the way that he got his teams to play, I thought was very akin to how the traditional Manchester United teams play. And the thing that goes against him is the trophy winning. But I think that the ways. And also what a lot of people won't recognise is when he was in charge of Tottenham and they got to the Champions League final, they were on a real tight budget because of the stadium.
Yeah.
So their budget was like akin to some of the Premier, right at the bottom of.
They didn't sign anyone that season.
Right at the bottom.
Season after, sorry.
And
Their budget was right at the very bottom of Premier League because they were building that stadium, and if you look at it in terms of what that was, that's a remarkable.
Do you mind that though, the trophy thing you mentioned there? Because when we speak to people, it is people who are critical of Pochettino or aren't keen on him. They go, he's never really won anything. I think he's going to win the league in France now. I think that's nailed on. But you know, he didn't win the league last season in France. He lost the final. All right, it's the Champions League final, but he still lost it. And is that something that concerns you? Do you think you can?
No, that's why I'm saying that. I like the fact that because he's got the experience of already been there.
Yeah.
He's coached at 2 clubs in the Premier League, had good success in relative terms at both clubs, and the types of teams he built are the types of teams that I would be happy watching playing in the colours of Manchester United. That's all.
My only thought with the next manager is, like you said about, I can keep you in the Premier League. That's what I'll promise you, or because it's going to take a rebuild. People need to go. It's going to take some time. One of my worries is which of the potential new managers will be given the most time? Like, who will the fans back for the longest? Who will the owners back for the longest?
But that's where you've got to decide on what your plan is.
Yeah.
If you keep turning around and saying that at all costs you must get into the top 4 or whatever they decide Champions League positions are, then that affects how the coach is going to try to develop that group of players that he's got. I would like to be able to see that a coach would have an idea that this is this group of, but as we travel along this, instead of me thinking that, well, I'll put this 34-year-old on the bench because I know he's got the experience and understanding that if I bring him on, he might be able to have an influence on the game, and put on a 19, 20, 21-year-old who might, in 2 or 3 years' time, might be an integral part of your squad. I don't think we've seen enough of that. When I look at when Manchester United's bench wouldn't scare any other manager at any other club in the Premier League. I think maybe the first 13 would be a concern to but not when you sometimes look at the bench. You think, why? Whereas maybe some young player can come on and the young players surprise you. Malanga's done very well. They surprise you. They've got to be given opportunities, and that's what I'd like to see. That not being or even the kind of, maybe it's part of how the squad's been put together. That those players maybe should be there to have an option of. There was always through Alex Ferguson and Martin Edwards and David Gill's tenure was when you got over 30, you were fighting for a new contract. So you got a year.
I was going to say there was a lot of 1-year contracts, wasn't there?
You got a year, and Giggs managed to turn that into 9 years. But Gary Neville as well. But and you would be given the reward if they thought, or Alex Ferguson thought that you've got another year in you. They would offer you a new contract well before the summer. You wouldn't be getting 3 years. Not over 30.
We saw Matic sign a 3-year deal.
Yeah, he signed a long-term deal, didn't he, Nemanja Matic? Yeah, like you say,
33 now.
I think he was.
And how many games has he played since he signed that contract?
Not many. Yeah. It seemed like a bit of a rush. There's a couple of questions here and a couple of statements. Fergal McClements in the super chat says, "That's not Brian McClair. That's Bill Murray from The Life Aquatic."
Steve Zissou.
Yeah, that's it. Steve Zissou. Have you seen that?
No.
So Wes Anderson one is pretty funny. It's good stuff. Henry Lakin, says, "Was there a young player Chocky worked with and was convinced would make it at United, but didn't manage to make the step up?" Is the one player that you thought?
No, there's all that you've high hopes for all of them because you do believe that they're, because of the plan, particularly when young players come from into your system at 8 years of age, you think they've all got a chance. So there isn't anyone particular who you think, absolutely sure will be a first team player on the start. I think they all end up where they're supposed to be because it's down. So there's a new kind of concept in that I've noticed in modern coaching is where there'll be a lot of coaches who claim that they made a huge difference to, or they might even be totally responsible for a player breaking into the first team or part of their career. I've had a wonderful time working with a lot of good players who have gone on to have great careers in playing, and some of them gone on now to be involved in coaching. And I've not made anybody a player. I was just there to be a guide to them. So they end up usually where they should be because of. Sometimes it's a bit. I think one of the ones you said for me that, and it was only because of injury, and I'm delighted that he's doing really well at the moment at Wigan, is Will Keane. I thought Will Keane.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Will Keane reminded me when he was a young player of Van Basten.
Really?
Yeah, but that's because of injury, not because of attitude and application.
Yeah, because he got injured, didn't he, early on in his career, and then I remember when Marcus made his debut, he got injured just before then as well.
Yeah,
but
there you go. Now look at a different scenario, and it's that you ask any player how did they get a chance to play in the first team, and it's always just the same story. Somebody was injured, somebody was suspended, somebody was out of favour, somebody was poorly, somebody was misbehaving. There was no one else. And in Marcus's case, there was no one else.
Yeah.
And he grabbed it, grasped it, took it, and became very, very successful. Because if it wasn't, if Will had been fit, it'd been Will. It would have been
100%. Because wasn't Martial got injured in the warm up? I think, didn't he, from Tidgeland?
Yeah.
So I just on Marcus quickly, because he's been debated and it's been spoken about, and obviously he's not been playing to his usual standards this season. He's struggled a little bit. What do you make of that? Do you think that he will come good in the end? Because there's some people saying, he might end up leaving because he's had that such a torrid time this season.
Well, one of the things is that
amazing.
The most important time in professional football is pre-season. If you miss pre-season, you're always going to struggle. You're always going to play catch-up. And because of Marcus's injury and then subsequent medical procedure, he's missed all of that, and it took a while from whether it was the right time or not. It should have been done earlier is a matter of debate within the people who are responsible for those decisions. If you miss that, you're going to struggle, and I think that's added to his now. The other part of it is to get some form. You need to play. I don't. I didn't think I could have form until I played. Maybe came into some form, dropping in and dropping out, playing various different positions. I have to do lots of different things. Am I fit enough? Am I in any kind of decent form? It's difficult to say. And then is it down to what? The understanding of what he's supposed to be doing, how he's being managed, no idea about that. There's certain times, early on, where games that he's been criticised with, I'm looking at Marcus Rashford, he doesn't look happy.
Yeah.
He looks discontented, and that should never happen on a football pitch, particularly if you're starting the game. I can get that when you're getting yanked off, and you're being substituted. That's a normal kind of thing. But when you're actually playing the game, and the camera, and you're looking pissed off, there's clearly something not right, whether that's to do with his football or that's to do with other activities. I have no thing about that. But a player like him, who we know what he can do, if you're looking as a new coach and you're looking at your squad, then he's one of the ones you've got to be prioritising and saying he's had a tough time and I can make a difference to him. And we can see what he's done before. There isn't anything really changed. Not really. He's missed bits and pieces of things. What is it that he's, is he not happy? Is he upset with something? Is there other influences that we can have an influence that's more positive than those negative influences? And I wouldn't be looking, no way I'd be looking for accepting any kind of opportunity for him to leave at the moment.
No.
With the new manager coming in, that would be a great way for that manager to, make the fans get on side as well. If you can get the best out of Marcus Rashford again, not only have you got a better chance of winning games, but the fans will absolutely love that.
But that's what you'd expect. That's what your coach is supposed to do. He's supposed to, whoever you choose is supposed to galvanise the group of players that he's going to be given. Now, the new coach isn't going to be that hugely influential on the personnel. There's players who will leave because they've decided they're going to go, or the club have decided that they're not going to offer them, or whatever terms as they're going to go. Yeah. There'll be other players that you're going to decide that you maybe don't fancy for whatever reason. But there's other players you think I'm sure they'll be thinking, so well, I think I can make a difference to that particular player, and hopefully Rashford's one of them, because we know what he's capable of doing. And we've all had poor games and poor seasons.
Yeah,
I know I have.
You've had 20. Some stinkers, haven't you? We'll get loads of chats coming in.
Has been shocking.
So we'll get to them. Pratish Patel says, no surprise, Jay's back. Love the Paddock. Peter Kelly says, what was going through your head going into the 91 Cup Winners' Cup final? And was it more relief or joy after the final whistle, after achieving the greatest achievement in association football? We're a bit obsessed with the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup final on this channel.
It was like the European football, having experienced it at Celtic, was wonderful. European football, first season back after the unfair ban on English clubs, and the whole adventure was all the way through. It was brilliant in different ways. It's easy to say now, but we felt really confident that we could turn them over, because
in that Barcelona team.
Yeah, because they had one or two players missing. It was raining, raining a lot, and it seemed to me that there was far more United fans in the ground, making a lot more noise than there were Barcelona fans. So everything that the manager and his staff had done up to that point were all very positive. So I did enjoy playing in the game because I had a particular role to do in the game. Because I was to man-mark Ronald Koeman. Right. That was my job. I mean, the manager said in his team talk, the first thing he said was, if you do your fucking job today, we'll win the game.
No pressure, then.
No, not at all.
Do you know what I mean?
It's all on you.
It's all on you. Just Mark Koeman, yeah.
Yeah, just mark him. That was it. And I think it did a reasonable job.
I think that's slightly modest.
But so the game, everything went well. And I think the game, if you watch the game, it's actually we tore into them all over the place in times where you could do that because the rules were slightly different. And you get sometimes you need a little bit of fortune in the last minute. Clayton Blackmore kicks the ball off the line. That's sometimes you need to get that, and winning that was wonderful. Yeah.
Going into that, did you score in every round?
Yeah.
Was you annoyed at all? It was like you scored in every round, going in the final. It's like
no, it's not about me.
Well,
It wasn't about me.
Fair enough, I'm not saying it, but you might.
If I scored in the final and we'd lost, I'd had that up on my wall. I had it up on my wall every single game. Me scoring, final, me scoring, framed,
lost
with my losers medal,
picture of them holding
runners up medal.
You could have
That's something that I've always dreamt about.
So that's a no then. In that case,
do you think players still have that mentality, or do you think they'd be thinking, "I've scored in every round, I'm scoring in the final"?
No, there's different. The players are all different and for different reasons. Yeah. For me, I've always been about is the team's more important, and the success that you have will be down to the team, not down to the individual, or the individual choosing individual choices,
Was that sorry? I was going to say because you played up front for a lot and then midfield, so was that an easy transition for you? Then?
Yeah, because I'd always played as a midfield player. Right. I never felt comfortable playing as a forward.
Really?
No.
You did okay then, though, didn't you?
Yeah, remarkably well, considering I was never comfortable as a forward.
Right. So you're happy to drop back into midfield?
I was happy playing. I mean, it didn't matter. I could play badly anywhere. If you told me that I was playing that, I was happy. told me I wasn't playing, I wasn't happy. That was a simple thing.
It's a good attitude to have, to be fair. There's a few chats. SG's been a member of the Academy of 16 months, says, this is depressing. Let's talk about the greatest achievement in football history. Jay knows what I mean. We have done. Matt Moss, welcome to the Academy. Colin McNamanian, thanks for the super chat. There wasn't anything in it. A few people have asked in the chats, Chucky, and there was a picture of it there, about the time where... am I right in thinking you didn't even get booked?
No.
Right. We'll talk about
I should have got sin died. Never mind.
If anyone doesn't know, United and Arsenal, it all kicks off at Old Trafford, and I think someone around this table may have been responsible for what happened that day.
No, I wasn't.
What can you remember about that? What?
I was a participant.
You was a participant, as an observer.
Yeah, well,
close observer.
A close observer.
very close. Yeah.
Because we talk about this a lot, and a few people mention it, and it's not something we're likely to see anymore.
Well, no, you won't say that.
Right, rivalry now ends up with people high-fiving after the game, doesn't it?
Yeah. Telling each other how great they are.
Yeah.
Which is a great irritation to me.
Is it? Do you, when you look at this rivalry and you see like
beforehand, cuddling in the tunnel and shaking hands,
like you're not into that
during the game and after the game,
hugging and that, and like, oh, you know.
I would kick my best mate, and I did kick my best mate playing football, right?
Really?
But after, I would wait till well after the game before I apologise for it.
Fair enough.
So all this hugging and all this stuff, no, not for me.
Your best mate's Nigel Winterberg.
Well, me and Nigel are okay now.
Yeah. When you say okay, just talk us through for people that don't know what happened on that Old Trafford.
In my view, Nigel had a poor challenge on Dennis Irwin.
Right.
But there's been some history about it, so it was between me and Nigel anyway. So it started a couple of years before. If you watch the game the year before, you'll see me shaking Nigel by the throat, maybe in some pictures.
It looks by the throat.
Well, I'm holding his shirt, I'm shaking him. He's pretending to be knocked out.
Right.
And anyway, the following year, I thought it was a poor challenge. Really, it is a poor challenge. And occasionally, very occasionally, you'll go into the red zone. I went into the red zone, and I kicked him twice.
Okay.
Which then ensured, which is quite right, they're going to stick up for their player. My teammates were sticking up for me, and there was a bit of a stramash. Yeah. I ended up with 2 stitches in my ear because Anders Lindberg, being a sneaky little shit, went round the back, gave me a right hook from behind.
Disgusting.
So overall, if you look at it, you think, well, Michael Thomas got him by the throat, you've got Tony. Anyway, we're all there apart from David Seaman.
So it's a 21-man brawl, wasn't it?
Well, actually, recently Clayton Blackmore's decided that he didn't get involved.
It's down to 20.
Well, so it's down to 20. I'm disappointed. I can't believe he confessed. I couldn't believe he confessed about it. I'm like, why are you confess? Why are you saying that? Like, pretty boy, you know. Why would you say that? David Seaman's given for fair. He's fucking the other side of the pitch.
He's bobbing running
He's
over.
a goalie. He's like that.
He's done all with boxing gloves on though.
He's like that. Yeah, but he's like, by the time I get there, it's finished, isn't it? So he's like,
little did he know.
He's like, leaning against the post.
Plenty of time to.
Yeah, he could have got over there with hours to spare.
Yeah. So and then there was this cool thing, and the referee, who was a very experienced referee, just stepped away and let it all happen. It all calmed down. He came in and he booked Nigel.
Love that.
What did you? Was you just waiting? Did you think like I'm going to get
Keith Hackett? Yeah, he was really.
Did you think I'm going to get?
He was like the top referee at the time.
And there's one booking in a 20-man brawl.
Yeah, he booked Nigel for the tackle. For the tackle.
That'll teach everyone the lesson, won't it?
He's got a broken spine.
Yeah.
He's lying there like that. Like, fractured back, you know.
This was so bad. Points got deducted.
Yeah,
it was that bad. The FA went, no, we can't have this. And there was one booking.
Yeah, the thing is, that I'm thinking, I've never been sent off before.
Right.
I'm thinking, this is that. I can't be staying in the park after behaviour like that. And as I say, I was like, that's unbelievable.
You sure, Ref?
Well,
I don't mind.
And in terms, really, maybe at the time, but in the pre-season. Yeah, I would have got banned for quite a number of games subsequently, you know.
I'd love to see that in VAR now.
Oh, imagine how long he'd be stood at the screen
Everyone's got
for.
a red. Like, think about it. Everyone would have had a red.
Lining everyone up like-
everything's
There
a red.
would-
There would have been, well, yeah, because
It's match abandoned tackle.
certainly I would have got a red for that. Limpar for punching him in the side of the head should have got a red for that. Paul Ince chasing him and getting him down by the side of the pitch, by the throat, potentially. I don't know. I mean, there would have been a
red,
lot.
yeah, that
I
would
think-
be a red.
I
That's
think
an
there-
orange. It's in
There's
between.
definitely a couple of red cards in there. Well, one at least, mine.
What-
Limpar should have. If he punch you, he can't be
You can't
punching
punch
you.
people in the side of the head.
No,
Like,
Not
that's
from behind.
Oh,
you
from
know,
behind,
it's not
that's-
just-
Yeah, if
Sorry,
it's
that's-
square on,
Well,
it's
if
a
he's
yellow.
square on,
Fair.
it's yellow,
Yellow
aye,
card.
but not from behind.
What did Sir Alex Ferguson make of all this?
We lost the game as well, so you can imagine that it's like, Limpar scored, didn't he? It was 1-0.
That's
wasn't
even worse.
it?
No.
So he wasn't
happy.
don't recall. He would have been happy now. No chance. No. My head was too full of thinking, what was I doing? You know, how am I going to explain this to?
Did you ever? You say you and Nigel Winterburn are all right now. Did you ever address this? Did you ever
I
speak to each other?
did with the following year, 1991. Actually, it was it was Easter weekend actually, and they'd won the league, and we were playing them on the Monday. So we had to do a guard of honour, which is not
Of all the teams you've got,
not the best
know what I
thing
mean?
to do.
That's
And
not
I just
like-
went up to Nigel before the game and says we need to shake hands in this before somebody gets hurt.
meaning him. Before you get hurt, you mean?
And anyway, and we drew a line under it, you know. So, but but in a way, it's quite good that people remember you because of whatever that shit it is, you know. So
I've asked you this question all the time, and you always say it like when I ask you about your favourite goal for United.
Yeah.
You just say like they're all your little
no,
babies. You don't have a
because
favourite.
it's that kind of thing. Because
Yeah.
during lockdown, wasn't there? There's a thing about the worst ever goal, wasn't there, on TikTok or whatever other social media thing, and it was a goal against Sheffield Wednesday.
Is this your one after the?
Well, I scored the goal, but
Yeah.
it's like
Have you seen it?
It's,
I probably
but
have.
somebody took the
I think I
ball
sent
out
it
of
to you. I
You
sent
said the
it-
one with the ball out.
No.
Somebody took the ball
I
out
need
of
to
it.
see that.
Somebody took the ball out
That's
of it.
hilarious.
Oh, we were just piling in.
He somebody took the ball out of it, so you
Just
can,
looks like
all
you're
you
all
can
just-
see
it's
is
just a big
doing
bang.
what
Yeah,
they're
I've
doing.
seen it.
All the people doing what they're doing to some music, and that's better than.
I wish I'd have thought
That's
that.
better than the goal.
kind of
Because I
thing.
remember sending you the goal going, this has just come on my timeline. And you like, classic or whatever. And it was just like, it's like a brawl with the
Yeah,
ball
yeah.
thrown in there.
It's
And
like
loads
that.
of missed chances, loads of missed shots. And you just come in and just finally
It
put
just
it away.
drops to me like an inch from the.
after about 8 people have missed. It's like, what's going on
like
here?
that, so I don't. No, I don't. I don't think there's ever a bad goal. You know, I mean, like you certainly wouldn't have the Everton lad Gordon saying that he thought that was a bad goal.
No,
He scored, you
that's
know,
a-
when it
that's
was heavily deflected against off Harry Maguire. You know, so it's like they're all as special as one another. Don't remember any of them, but I know they're special.
I remember my personal favourite was the screamer at Wembley in the 4-0 win over Chelsea.
Aye,
That was
yeah.
a classic, that.
Game changing goal.
Game changing. It was on a knife edge until you made it 4-0 with a few minutes to go. Shocky, as always, it's been a pleasure. What are you up to anyway? You've got your own podcast now, haven't you?
Yeah, Life with Brian, yeah. You catch up on it and all your usual places where you may find your podcast if you've got nothing else to do for an hour or so.
And, you know, you don't have to ask me. I will come on it. It's all right. You don't have to. I know you mad keen for me and Joe to come on. So
We'll
don't
be
worry.
there.
We don't need an invite. We'll turn up next week. That's not a problem. Make sure you go and check out Life with Brian podcast. It's on, as you just said, iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff as well. Is it? It's on
There's also Twitter,
Twitter.
I believe, which is some other social media platform.
You still doing all your tweets?
No, I stopped twatting.
You used to get a little bit. I used to pick up the paper and you'd be in it because of your tweets.
No, it's,
You've stopped doing it, haven't you?
Yeah, I stopped tweeting at the start of the pandemic. So.
It's not for you.
No, I'll go back to it. We're just waiting until every time I think that we've got something else serious happens in the world, and I don't want to be appearing to be disrespectful of world events, you know, by taking the piss, basically. You know,
we need a bit of that. Though. Everyone's a bit serious. Come on, especially
that's one of the things I like doing.
Do you know what I mean? We need a bit more.
That's why I like the podcast, because that's what that's about, really.
Yeah.
It's a bit of levity without being disrespectful, you know. So.
That's what you want. A bit of levity without being disrespectful. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out Chucky's channel. Thanks again for coming on. It's great to finally have you on. You know it's fine. Joe, we'll be back to what's next for us tomorrow.
All sorts. News in the morning.
News in the morning. We'll have an update, probably another Eric Ten Hag update, considering that's all the stories at the minute. Just quickly, Eric Ten Hag, you a fan?
Am I a fan of it?
Yeah, I know you said you like Pochettino.
I'd have to be. I don't know that much. I like his kind of career path and his influences. He's worked with Guardiola, hasn't he? So he's had great success. Almost taking a very youthful Ajax team to Champions League final. But again, he's coming from a potentially a well-structured club to one that none of us seem to feel at the moment is got a great amount of structure to it. But it's Manchester United, and I don't care whether winning trophies or winning games, Manchester United will always be a big club.
Thank you. Well said. Very well said. We're going to leave it on that note. Big thanks to Manscaped as well for sponsoring us. This has been the Paddock Podcast with Brian McClair. Thanks for watching.